So today I will speak with my husband's approval, of course. I said it's okay, I can do that, about my mother-in-law. She's Greek. She is a typical Greek mother-in-law. Coming from a poor family where they had many kids, and the girls were sent to work in families very early in their lives. When she talked to me about that, she told me that I think until she got married, the money she made from that family was going back to her family to help with the land and the fields and all the expenses. Anyway, and what's very funny, what's very strange in these families is like at the end, when the parents die, it's always one that gets most of the inheritance. The others, they either get nothing or they get very little. It's usually things like a cupboard or something like that. But the land, they usually give out to the favorite or the one that is going to take care of them, which is usually the chosen one, to take care of them. And it's normal in a way if they really do take care of them and properly, I suppose. Anyway, to get back to the mother-in-law. So she's a woman that didn't finish school. They didn't have the money then to send them to school. They couldn't afford to wait for their children to finish school. So there was always a chosen one that would go to school, become a doctor or become a lawyer or become something like that. That was the one that they would invest the money on. The others, they had to go and work and make money, leave school and go and work. So my mother-in-law was one of these children who didn't have an education and was sent to work and then get them married straight away, okay? And when you talk to her, you see that she hasn't had a proper education. And I'm not talking about not being able to read a newspaper or a book or something like that. I'm talking about education in every way. There's things that she doesn't know. I mean, she will repeat you a story, for example. Once she told us, like, with all this passion, and that there was, in the village, there was a giant snake. I mean, and when she describes snake, she just goes, the body was big like this, and it crossed the road. And I suppose it's stories that they hear in the village or the parents say to frighten the children not to go too far away or something like that. But they grew up believing in that story. I mean, she's 80 years old, nearly 90, and she can tell you that story like she's seen the snake. And I'm like, are you sure you've seen the snake? Because we're not talking about a snake here, we're talking about a dragon, It's huge what you're describing. Yes, all the people from the village, other people have seen it. No, I didn't see it, but I know it exists. It exists. You're like, okay. Okay. And she will stick to her opinion about that snake, There's no way that the villagers lied about that. And they're very, very funny things that she has said over the years. I'll try and remember different ones. But, so this woman, she left the family. She didn't get any attention from the parents, really, any love or affection or all that. She only got that until a certain age, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Then they were too busy, to take care of their kids. And going into a family from the age of 11, 12 to work, the approval she got, I realized first, before my husband and his sister realized that. The approval she because we all need to get approval from somewhere. So she's a really good housewife. I mean, she can clean what would take me a room, like a, let's say, dirty kitchen. She can clean it in 1 hour. It will take me a week. And she's gone in every corner. There's no dust, there's no spider web, there's nothing. She's like perfect as a housewife, okay? And she's also a very good cook, because she used to cook for this family. And so when she used to come to my house, and I had made, usually she brings, when she comes to my house to visit us, she brings Tupperwares full of spinach pie, cheese pie, brazza, it's a sweet kind of pie we have with cream. So she cooks all that in her house, where she's accustomed to everything in her kitchen, and she brings like more Tupperware with food than clothes or her stuff to bring over. Yeah? And one day she came, and I decided I had made 2 days before a cake for my kids, and they liked it, so I made it again. And it was very funny, because on the table, I went to work that day, and my sister-in-law, she told me, oh my God, you should have seen it, how she took from the table. So my kids woke up and wanted breakfast, and she just made my cake disappear somewhere in some corner and put all her food that she brought on the table. You know, you have to eat, you have to eat. And she's very insisting on having us eat, like most Greek mothers. You know, it's like, you have to eat. They don't care if thank God we're not huge, but you can see mothers feeding their overweight child, like, and grandmothers, like they're gonna starve. You know, it's like, eat, you have to eat, you have to eat. So she's very pressuring on that point, on the food point, which is gets annoying in a way, because it's too much, you know. And she's hurt if you don't eat. This is the worst. She's hurt. Her feelings are hurt if you don't eat her food. So anyway, one day I came back, when I came back from work, my children were like, where's the cake you made? I said, I don't know. And she hid it somewhere in the kitchen. And my sister-in-law, she said, my mother put it on the side because she wanted your kids to eat her food first. At the beginning, when I was new in the family, and she'd come to my house, every time I cooked something, she would just come, and in a very discreet way, really. I'd find myself, I was with a spoon in my casserole, whatever I was doing there, and she would just, I'd find myself away from it, and her taking my place, and adding things to the food, and making it her recipe, you know. So without telling me, it's not like that, it's like this that you have to do it, or without telling me, let me do it, you know, do you want me to, she would just push me over. And without even pushing me, it was like in a very discreet way, just poof, out of the way, my dear, you know, I'm going to be doing that. I would get angry with that. I would go to my husband, why doesn't she let me cook, you know? I mean, I'm in my house and I'm cooking, and she just pushes me away and takes my place. So the food was very important to her, and because she's very good, everything she makes is very, very good. This is the recognition and the she got from the foods. It was very important that nobody took it from her. And she would never ask you, oh, this is good, how can you give me the recipe? No. She would eat something that you made, it was good, she would say it's good, but I do it this way. Or I would have put that, and I would have added that, but it's, you know, you want to tell her, but it's good, isn't it? So, I mean, why would you like to change it? No, because she wants always to put her way in it, and to be the one who makes the perfect food. So there's a very antagonistic thing about the food. And I talked to her once about it, and I said, you know why you're so... the way you're forcing people to eat like they're gonna starve, or the way you get upset if we don't eat your food, I mean, if you happen to come back home and say that you had a souvlaki on the way, she... But I cooked all this food and I made all this for you, you know, why do you eat outside? She would get angry. And I said, well, this is like a proof that, you know, did you think about it? Did you think about that you're reacting to the food because the food was the only source of approval? Not the food exactly, but because of your food, it was the only way you got from other people approval. So I said, I'm sure that the place where you worked, the house where you worked, everybody was very happy with you, and they were giving you compliments on the food, weren't they? And she said, yes, they loved my food, and sometimes when I took a day off and somebody else cooked, for whether it was the wife of the house or somebody else, they would come and tell me, you know, oh God, we miss your food, you know, it's very important for her. So I can understand her reaction in that way. But like I said, it's like you believe that's the only thing that you are good in, you know, and you concentrate on that so much, and you become so antagonistic about it. Is you, without realizing it, you erase all the other good things that you can, that you give, that you offer, you know, because you're so focused on the food, and you, yeah, that was very strange. Now she knows me, she's different, she doesn't dare, because one day I told her off and I said, look, I'm cooking here, you know, you don't come and pinch my spoon from my hand and push me, and you think I don't realize it. I do realize it, what you're doing, you know, you should realize what you're doing, because it's not good, you know. And that was one thing. She always had a way of looking at me, like thinking, yeah, wait, I'm gonna fix you. I'm gonna fix you. She's also very good at crochet. Yeah, it's with not crochet, and she makes, in Greece they make little doilies. We call them doilies in English, I think. So they all the mothers, the grandmothers, they make doilies, and you have doilies on the television set, on the tables. Every surface is like doily covered, and now, of course, her eyesight's gone bad and she can't really do them as well, but it was doilies all the time. Every time she came, it was like 10 doilies. I said, I have enough, I don't know where to put them. I don't put them up anyway, so, you know, stop making them. It's for your daughter. So it started after me, it was for my daughter, for her prika. So when she gets married, for her new house, you know. And sometimes I crochet too in winter when I can't do out jobs outside of the house, in front of the computer or something, or when we watch a series. I'm like crocheting to keep my hands busy. And I was making little phone cases for my shop, and she was like, or I do carpets, that I use old sheets to make carpets with, so I cut them up and I make them, and I enjoy it very much. And I do it because I like it. I'm not doing it because I have to, but because I like it. So it's obvious, you know, somebody's crocheting. And she's always coming to me. She was always coming to me and saying, oh, go do something else. I'll finish it. I'll do that. Just because she wants to add her touch to mine. You know, she cannot, it's like she cannot accept that I can also crochet, and I can also make not the same things, not so complicated like a doily, but I can make nice things with my crochets, with my needles. And it was like she wanted to take that over, you know, that's my thing. It's not yours, it's my thing. I'm good at that, you know. So I'll finish it. And I said, what's the point of you finishing something I started? It's not like I'm doing it because I don't like it. I'm sitting here. This is why I'm doing it, because I'm sitting here now, I'm relaxing, and I want to take my mind off things. You know, I'm enjoying it. So it's not like a burden that you have to take over. You're not helping me anywhere here. You know, you're just taking away my relaxing time. it's like somebody saying you're smoking a cigarette and somebody saying, oh, go do something else, let me smoke your cigarette instead of you. Yeah, it's crazy. After I told my mother-in-law, like I said in the previous video, that I was not going to take care of her in her old days, because, well, we're going to take care of her to a certain point. We're going to run if she's in hospital, we're going to do it, but we're not going to take her in charge in our lives, put her in our house. This is not going to happen. So she turned completely when she saw that my husband found a wife, made his family, and is concentrated in that part of his life. Then she turned towards her other child, her daughter. A daughter who was, she went to detox, everything, she was fine. She's fine now, she's out of all that shit. But she is kind of dysfunctional in a way that she can't find herself a decent person to be with. She always goes and mixes up with weak people, alcoholics, or hash smokers. And when I mean hash smokers, I don't mean that cigarette that you know, once a week or even once a day join. I mean people who do that all day long. And addicted person. And she's very controlling over her daughter in a discreet way. So, I mean, when you have a mother that calls you like 2 times a day, so, what time did you wake up today? What are you going to do? What are you going to cook today? What did you put in your food? You know, and if she says, I'm going to make some meatballs, what did you put in them? And they have this kind of conversation, mother and daughter, like 2 or 3 times a day. It's crazy. I realized what was happening really when, with my 3rd child, we didn't know exactly when I was going to give birth and all that. So 1 month before, I went and I lived with my mother-in-law. I was going to go and live with my cousin, which I did for the 2nd child. And I did for reasons, practical reasons. I mean, I put on enormous weight when I'm pregnant, and my cousin had an air condition, and both my kids were in spring and summer. So my cousin had an air condition, and it was like for me more practical being like a whale sitting in a room with an air condition than having all that heat. So for the 3rd child, my mother-in-law made sure, knowing that for the 2nd child I went to my cousin, I preferred to go to my cousin and stay with my cousin because of the air conditioning. Even though she didn't have money, she bought an air condition to make sure that I was at her house. So anyway, so I went to her house. And so while I was there, during that month, I realized what kind of relationship she'd had with her daughter. And I was like, and I talked with her. I have this thing about wanting to put sense into people. It's like, it's crazy. Reason with people. And so I told my mother-in-law, I said, look, how do you expect your daughter to have a life of her own? How do you expect her to find a husband or to find a friend, a good friend? I mean, she has friends, but they're not good friends, you know. To find a good friend and to have a life of her own, if you're giving her all the things, you know. A mother has to play the role of the mother, and then you have the friends who will play the role of the friends, and you have the boyfriend who will play that role. But you are covering all her needs in one. You are one person, the mother, who is covering all her needs. Gossip, you do with her. Talk about food, you do with her. How she's going to clean her clothes. If she's got clean clothes and bring them over or whatever. Pocket money, you give her. I mean, you're buying her cigarettes, you're buying her, if she needs a new pair of shoes, you're buying it for her. If she does happen to have a boyfriend, you know everything about it, you know the whole situation. You're in it, you're in their lives. And I said, you're harming her. You're doing her more harm than anything. What is this? Just let her be alone, and then she's gonna have the need. She's gonna see that she needs to have a person in her life. She's gonna see that she needs to have a friend to talk to. But being there, she doesn't have time to realize that she needs these things, And her answer was, which was shocked me. Her answer was, and who am I gonna have then? It was more like we cover each other in this part, It's like she was afraid that she was going to be alone if she didn't have her daughter. At least I have somebody to talk to. At least I have. But you have your friends too, I said. This is the thing. You have your friends. You had your husband. Your daughter hasn't had all that. Let her be. But she did answer in a very selfish way, And who am I going to talk to? And who am I going to have to talk to? Anyway, for me, the daughter is like totally fucked from this relationship. I mean, she does realize at points that it's suffocating her, but she doesn't do anything to change it. I mean, she goes through little periods where she's like cutting up with her mother and telling her, leave me alone and all that. If she doesn't get a phone call from her daughter, she stresses out completely. Then she phones my husband to tell him, I phoned your sister twice and she doesn't answer the phone. You call her, maybe she will answer you. So I mean, if she says that, that means that she does realize that she's pushing too much and her daughter wants a break from her. But then she goes through the sun, Another thing that, and this was recent, this was this winter when we were at her house, and she had some skin allergies and all that, which was psychosomatic, because she went to the doctors, they didn't find anything, and it was psychosomatic because she was stressing. I mean, she stresses about nearly everything, and she doesn't show it. She's not a nervous person. And I can't say that 100%, being 100% sure, because we don't know what the daughter is going through, if she passes that stress to the daughter or whatever. She shares that stress with the daughter. But she has her moments of stress anyway. And she had to go to hospital because it was itching her and she was in a bad condition. So when she came back from hospital and we were there, and I said, did you eat something that you shouldn't have eaten again? Because she's got diabetes, she's got different things. I said, she doesn't respect the rules, she doesn't respect the diets. She eats what she wants to eat. So I said, did you eat something that you shouldn't have eaten again, and you got all these rashes and all that? She said, no. And one morning I woke up and she was really quiet. And I said, what's wrong? And she was like, I'm upset. It upsets me, I think of what if I die, And I was like, you're not gonna die now, but anyway, we don't have to be afraid of death, and you've lived your life and all that. You should be more at ease with it, You're not a young person, you're of a certain age, and you should have, by now, thought about death, and she was like, it's not for me that I'm afraid. So, and she was like, it's not for me, I'm not afraid of death. It's for you guys, my children. I'm gonna leave orphans. I'm like, what? Orphans? I said, we're not little kids, you know. Your daughter is 51 and we're nearly now 50s. We're adults. You're not gonna leave any orphans. You know. But the way I reacted to what she said, she understood that she couldn't go any further with that analysis. Because I was kind of teasing her, really. I said, oh, come on, you know, we're not orphans. What are you talking about? We're not little kids. So, but the way she said it, I said to my husband, I said, she really does believe that we're going to be lost without her, you know, that our life is going to end and we're going to be so miserable. I mean, she's got a secret great idea of herself, you know. Like, the only reason that we are surviving so far is because of her. And, yeah, sorry, your daughter might take it really bad if she die. I mean, she might not even get over it ever, because you're like a, what do you call this thing that when you swim, this plastic thing that you swim, you're a floater. You know, you're a floater completely. She counts on her mother for everything, and sometimes she does say, I have heard my sister-in-law say, what am I going to do if my mother dies, you know? If you're 50, what do you mean what you're going to do when your mother... I mean, I'm not saying people shouldn't feel sad. Of course you're going to feel sad when you lose a person, but you can't feel lost. Lost is not what... Parents shouldn't bring up children, making them feel that if they die, they're going to be lost. And this is what the Greeks do. They really bring up their children in such a way that they lose the earth under their feet when their parents die. It's done on purpose. The parents did that on purpose. They want to be missed in such a sick way, though. Not missed because you missed their story, you missed laughing with them, you missed having the chats you had with them, you missed their spanna copita, which is spinach pie or something like that. No, they want you to be lost without them. It's so sick. It's so sick for an 8-year-old woman saying, I'm going to leave you orphans, to their 50-year-old children. When my father-in-law got very sick after all the drinking and all that, he was in big distress. I think my husband told me once that he did 14 attempts suicide. I don't know if they were real attempts or they were like, even to talk about it, I'm going to commit suicide, you know, and he would go out on the balcony and say that he's going to jump from the second floor. I mean, you're lucky if you're going to die from the second floor. But I don't know exactly the story, but after one of his last attempts, they put him in a psychiatric clinic, and they gave him a lot of medication there. He came out like a zombie. It was really a real zombie, just walking, you know, small steps, and looking in always smile on his face, and looking like a complete zombie. And then, but at least he stopped drinking there. But it was too late. It was far too late. After that, that lasts for about 2 years. That was when I first came to the family. That lasted for 2 years, and then he was in bed. constantly. He couldn't get out of bed. And vegetable. And she was keeping it. You could tell that she was keeping him alive, just to have someone to take care of. And this lasted many years. 5 or 6 long years. So this poor woman had to move him every day so that his body would not crack, because somebody who's in bed constantly with the humidity, and he had Pampers on, and she had to change his nappy like constantly, and it was a heavy job, and had to move him and turn him around so that his skin would not crack. And feeding him was like, he's like, eat, close your mouth, and not chewy things. He would mashy things all the time. She had a patient in her house 24 hours a day. She couldn't go anywhere. She didn't do anything. That woman didn't do anything because she would not bring anybody to take care of him. And this crazy idea she had. So we had our first child, and she had this crazy idea that my child had to go and see the grandfather. Now, we had the child before he became a vegetable. But so my daughter was 2 years old, 2.5, and all that. She would insist for us to take her in the bedroom, or she would take her in the bedroom and go see your grandfather, go say hello to your grandfather. I was kind of shy still then, I didn't dare say too much, and I was like, yeah, but he doesn't understand anyway, don't put the child through that. It was an ugly picture. And I still regret it up to this day for not putting my foot down and saying, no, there's no way, he doesn't understand it.